Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't know, you give me a little nudge there.
Just to show we're live.
Yeah, we're live. You know, God gave us the ability to think, to know and reason, to sense and feel, and the determination and self-discipline to act. These gifts that work in harmony give us strength in our life. That's what gives us strength. You know, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Your personal power. Personal power. Bam. So your personal power manages your thoughts, your emotions, and it helps you dictate the way you live your life rather than letting stuff on the outside dictate your life. Stuff that's out of your control for the most part. So today on MidWeek MindFreak, we're going to go over how do you increase the power you already possess.
Chuck and Angela run multiple million-dollar companies. They are members of Riz Media's Billionaire Club, have coached and mentored thousands of agents, and are international speakers. They say by radically changing your mindset, not only can you change your outlook on life, but affect the actual results you obtain. Welcome to MidWeek MindFreak.
That's right. Welcome. Get your mind straight. We're going to be talking about the power, the personal power you already possess. It's a combination of three forces: intellect, spirit, and your will. That's your power. That's what we're going to be talking about. That type of stuff helps you build stronger relationships. It helps you learn more. It gets you to take more risks in life, bounce back from failure. Guess what? We all have failure. It's how do you bounce back from that and any adversity that pops up. And it also, when you have your tap into your personal power, it will help you create more opportunities and get stuff done. So here's some things that I want people to understand to see what personal power can do.
Yeah, when you tap into it appropriately, what it lets you do.
So personal power enables you to choose, you ready? Knowledge over ignorance, wisdom over foolishness, courage over fear, hard work over entitlement. I know I'm hitting some people's hot buttons right now. Hope over despair, humility over arrogance, appreciation over ungratefulness, love over hate, justice over unfairness, grace over condemnation, inclusiveness over alienation, and service over self-esteem. I don't know about you guys, but when I went through all of those were polar opposite.
Yep.
Like polar opposite.
I think that was the point.
Traits.
I think that was the point. I think that's the analogy.
Is that the analogy?
Yes, I do.
Oh, I gave that. But when you choose the first part, I guarantee it'll bring more peace in your life, more joy, and more vitality. So let's go over
a couple of things. So there are actually things that you can intentionally do, and it takes awareness and it takes practice. And I think it takes the grace of Jesus Christ in your life for sure. Hi, Jason.
Biblical.
Yes, it is. And so when we're talking, you have to frame it that it's a process and you have to choose to go on the process. So the first thing I want to talk about is finding your sweet spot. This concept of balancing what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and what needs to be done. And in that sweet spot, you have joy and enthusiasm in what you're doing. I was like, witch's brew. No. I don't know where that came from.
By the way, if Kristen's listening, I should have put a wig on.
Oh, stop it. So naughty. So anyway, the sweet spot, I'm going to define it again as what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and what needs to be done. When you get that right mixture, then you can do things with joy and enthusiasm. So if you're like, hey, here's a great measure if you're in your sweet spot. Do your days drag by or do they go fairly quickly? You know, right?
Not enough time of the day.
Do you look at your calendar and you're aggravated for all of the things that you have to do during the day? You're probably not in your sweet spot, right? And I believe that real estate, as an example, there are so many different ways to function within the world of real estate. Anyone can find their sweet spot. And this is not just work, this is also in your personal life. And so some of the things that you have to ask yourself is what you're doing. Let's take work, for example. Have you followed strengths and passion? Or are you chasing money, right? Now, money is great. I'm not afraid of money, as Kurt Shewell says. But are you really doing something that's passionate and utilizing your strengths? Are you engaged in the work that you love? So you have to ask yourself a couple of different questions. You have to consider your talents. Now you might need some outside help on this because talents are what God gave you.
A lot of people need some outside help.
Well, talents are what God gave you that come fairly naturally to you. I'm not saying that you can't work hard to refine your talents, but what you're good at. What do people affirm you for? What knowledge, skills, and solutions do people seek you out for? They come to you for what? Fill in the blank. And that it's easy for you to fill that need. Those may be your talents, and you should be working in them. And then you have to ask yourself about passion. When are you feeling most alive? Let's talk about at work. What are the things that you do at work that make you most excited or that fly by, like you make your day fly by? Who are you when you are engaged the most with people? And then
not when you're gossiping.
No, we're talking positive engagement.
Positive.
And then where do you feel like you're actually contributing something, right? You have to ask yourself these questions to determine if you're in your sweet spot. And if you're not, you need to analyze those things to get there.
Yeah, the next one that I think is, well, they're all really important. But if you want to access your power, the power that God has given you, and let's face it, we as human beings, what we possess is different than any other creature on the face of this earth. So we have some incredible power. So you need to know what you stand for.
Absolutely.
If they said, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. You need to be grounded. You need to be rooted. Your personal power will evaporate if you're not grounded to anything. So knowing what you stand for is about knowing what you value.
It's your core values.
Right. So so you really got to dive in. What is value? Value is what is most important to you. Now, just because something's most important to you, you have to really understand what is it? Because money cannot be your core value. It can't be. It'll go. Your power will just get sucked up. So you need to decide what is most important to you, because values give your life focus. So, for example, I know what I stand for, and it's what I'm rooted in, what I'm grounded in, which then I can access my power. Remember those things we went over that gives you strength. So I'm rooted first and foremost to glorify God in everything I do. Now, I'm going to go on a soapbox here for a minute.
Get on there, Chuck.
It needs to be a pretty strong soapbox because I will crush it. But here's my soapbox. My walk and my faith is my walk in faith. And what is just mind-blowing in the world we live in, and I believe it's because we lack our personal power, is how offended people get about someone who has a belief in a higher power. So biblical Christianity, they get offended by it. But here's my challenge. I'm not saying you need to be a Christian. That is not what I'm saying. This is my walk. But if my walk, and I'm rooted in something that says you're to love one another, that you are to, the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery.
Those are pretty solid.
I question when someone says, I don't want to be around that. Don't talk about your God. Now I know there's a difference when you force your faith on someone, because that's not what I do. But I will tell you, I'd rather be around someone who believes in Buddha or Hinduism or whatever, if I know they're answering to a power, they're rooted, they know what they stand for, that says to love one another, to truly do that. That's powerful, guys. And so maybe sometimes people get so offended because they're not rooted in anything. They don't know what they stand for, and everything offends them. I don't know if that makes sense, but
it's gonna make sense to somebody. You're on a soapbox.
You just got like this look on your face.
No.
So you need to have some kind of core values. So my values is first and foremost to glorify God. And I work at that. So if somebody's dealing with me, they know at the end of the day, I'm trying to do what's best. I want to be a man of my word. I want to love that person. I want to care about that person. The other thing is my wife. My wife is a core value to me. She's that important. Then my family, and then helping people. So I'm so grounded in what I do. I'm unshakable in my vision. So I get to access all of the power God has given me to live my life. So here's an exercise to do. Take time to identify your value. What do you value most? And then that way it can dictate how you grow and how you succeed.
Absolutely. When you don't have those solid core values, it's like you might as well just float around. Hey, Tasha. Okay. So the next one is, this is such a common thing that we all do. We're all guilty, but you actually relinquish control of your personal power when you allow people to push your buttons. So you have to get to a place, and I think it's a lifelong endeavor, where you refuse to let people push your buttons, because I don't care if it's in work or at home or your kids. Like I get it, right? But you have to recognize that when you allow someone to push your buttons, that's your problem. This is what you did. You took your personal power and you gave it to somebody else. That's what you did.
I'm victim.
I know we all are. I don't think anybody is exempt from this, but it's good to recognize that.
You know where my button is.
Just get in the car and go on the highway. That'll do it. So when you refuse to become engaged with people or things that push your buttons, a lot changes. Like when you disconnect instead of engaging with that activity, either the person just doesn't bother you anymore because it's their problem, not yours, or the other person actually goes, wait, I can't push his buttons, or I can't push her buttons. And so they change. So that is a huge practice probably for the rest of your life, to refuse to let people push your buttons.
Yeah. Next one, be authentic. Gosh, it takes guts to be yourself.
It does.
To live the values you have out loud. Like what I just said, what my values are, now I want to live them out loud. I got to be authentic. I have to be real. Good. You know what, guys? It's so difficult being a poser all the time. The reason why I can access my power and be unshakable is because I'm not out there bullshitting people. You know, when you're there lying and you got to try to figure out, what bullshit did I tell that person?
Or trying to please people.
This one, well, that's what I was going with. The other thing is, it really falls into being a people pleaser. So being authentic and being real and being who you are helps you now live in the power that we want access. Because remember, that's what we're talking about.
That's the whole point. How do you dip into your personal power in the maximum way?
Nothing drains your personal power more than living your life being something you aren't, living a lie. It is. It's so, and you know what? I'm blessed because the way I look at my life, I lived 2 different lives in this one lifetime. You know, when I look to God, and when people say I was born again, I am that definition of I had this life and I had this life. So for me, it's very easy to compare and contrast. This life, I lived the lie, and it sucked the life out of me. And now I'm living in truth, knowing my values, and I can access this power to live a great life. So, you have any more there?
I don't. You did a great job.
So lastly, here's how I want to leave it off. People who leverage and use their personal power to the max, these people understand that their lives are their own. There's a difference. When you access your own personal power, you understand this is my life, and they choose to take responsibility and do something about their lives. Those type of people are very hard to hold down. They're on a mission.
That's right.
And
Unstoppable.
you know those guys. You look at, there's two different types of people out there in this world. Those people who leverage their personal power to the max, unstoppable. They know where they're going. They know their values. Is that you? Because then you have the people who give away their personal power. These are the people that are controlled by others, that are controlled by situations. They choose to be victimized and being helpless. Is that you? Guys, so you need to say, what about you?
You have a choice. That's the great news. You can get unstuck.
Who controls your emotions? Who dictates the terms of your existence? Who is responsible for your happiness? Think about that, guys. You really need to sit and analyze what I just said. If you feel like you're the one giving your power away, take it back. You can do it. You just got to follow some of those things. And the more you exercise your personal power, the stronger you guys will become. So we appreciate you guys on our midweek Mind Freak. Have a blessed day, guys, and we'll see you next week.